What's going on, Palace fans? Back in the nest with you again for another update on Palace news. It's your boy T, and I am being blessed today by none other than Mr. AJ Baps. What's up, baby? How's it going, man? How's everything?
It's been a good Monday, mate. Like I mentioned before before we started recording, man. Millwall blew the playoffs. Brighton lost. Palace are guaranteed Premier League football next season. It's good, man. Let's get the wine in, lads. We're good. We're nice.
So we'll definitely talk about those few things that AJ just mentioned a little bit later on the show. Of course, we're going to be interacting with all of you in the chat. Appreciate all of you for being with us today. Before we get kicked off, as always, I want to say, if you really like what you're seeing, all the content that we provide, and please like, comment, subscribe. It means a ton to the channel. It means everything for the algorithm. We are a fan-run outlet, so it means a lot to us that we had to support. All right, so kicking off the show here with our first topic. It's said that Crystal Palace are reportedly one of 10, at least 10 Premier League clubs that are interested in Jefferson Lerma of Bournemouth, who will be free in the summer. They said that Lerma's played 34 of 35 Premier League games so far, scoring 5. But the report suggests that the defensive midfielder is keeping his options open with just a few months left on his contract currently with them. And that was reported by Football London. AJ, Jefferson Lerma, would you have him?
It's a hard one.
He's 28.
I'm on the fence on this.
Okay.
He has Premier League experience.
Mm-hmm.
He has quality. Is he top 6 quality? Pushes up the table quality? Nah, he isn't. But when he has played for Bournemouth, when I've seen him play, he's been all right. I think the way I've got to look at it is, if we're losing Luca and we're potentially losing MacArthur to replace that, yes, I'd take him. He's free. If his salary's not over, I don't know, 50, 60 grand a week. Yeah, I mean, I'd take him. But if it's like, okay, you've got a budget, you've got a map. I mean, we're not playing FIFA here. When you're playing FIFA, you've got your budget, you got your targets, I mean? You sign everyone. But
right.
It doesn't excite me. That's what it is. He is a good standard Premier League player. There's no escaping that. There's no falling out and that side of things or that sort of scenario. However, it doesn't excite me. I mean, the thing is, obviously, we are aware of the players that we do want in the squad. If we kind of got him either early in the transfer window and then kind of got on and got other players in, or vice versa, we brought all the players we wanted and the players that we were targeting, and then we kind of added them on the end, that would probably be more my thing. As long as he's not like a main transfer or he's a main target for ours, I can dig it. I can live with it. And if he comes into the squad being a squad player, I've still kind of got my heart set on seeing what Hamada's got. There are still a few young players in there. I mean, Ozo, I know that's a big name that, comes out a lot. And obviously he's still very young and still got a bit of time. Right. Another young player I've been kind of looking at is Fionn Mooney as well. I think he's potentially on the cusp. Killian Phillips doing wonders at Shrewsbury as well on loan. Depending on what kind of goes on around that, then I'd take him. In terms of squad depth and just kind of having a bit of a younger, experienced Premier League place, I'd be happy with it. But in terms of a main target, and if let's say we get Lerma through the door and we don't get much else, I'm going to be very, very underwhelmed. And I'll be kind of one of these, it would be very easy for people to jump back on the Parish out train like that. If you kind of start, if you're going to target free transfers, or if we're going to kind of do that transfer window, it needs to be impressive as the window we had under the first summer under Vieira. If we don't, and we're just going for 1 or 2 scrappy players, then it's going to piss people off. And I'd be in that camp of players that do that. Lerma's got excellent Premier League experience. Lerma's he's not a bum. Like, he's not a terrible player, and he's he's solid on the ball. He's quite creative. He's got an odd little goal in him. He's got quite a vicious tackle, but at the same time, Doucouré does that job for us. If he's going to be an understudy, could Doucouré, or if we're going to play 2 in the middle, and maybe give Hughes and whoever may potentially be our centre midfielders from a defensive perspective in this next season, I'm all for it. But where I'm kind of playing the monopoly game with Crystal Palace, and if we're going to spend conservatively like we've done historically, then it doesn't set me alight. That would be an afterthought. It'd be kind of like, an example would be, I don't know, let's say we got Dembele and I don't know, Bowie and I don't know, maybe some other fancy midfielder, and then brought in Lerma. I'd dig that. I'd be happy with that. I'd be on board with it 100%. But if it's like, oh, we've got Lerma and then we've got two average championship players, then I'd just be a bit like, okay, well, it's too late. Steve Parish has got my money for next season. So
he's already got the season ticket money. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's got that season ticket money already. So, you know, they're going to do whatever they do and I'll still have to support the club regardless. But it just doesn't excite me. It's better because obviously I've always mentioned that the football club should always be in a building block process, and we should always take steps to kind of step up our Premier League status. The way you got to look at it is in comparison to the other clubs in the Premier League, and if we're kind of looking at that mid-table bracket, which we technically are nowadays, does he break into those top does he break into that kind of mid-table squads? Debatable, yes. Does he push us up the league table? I would debate no.
And I tend to agree with you. I think the allure here is the fact that you're getting, like you said, a very premier quality and proven midfielder for free, and he's under 30. I think those are like the main things that you see when you think about this move. And one of my questions that stands out is pretty much similar to what Geica talks about here. We bring him in on a free. We know who he is, what he's done, where he's been. You think he's cool with coming in at 28 and having played as much football as he has, with being a squad guy, a rotational guy, or possibly having to fight for a chance to start week in and week out? You know, is he okay with that role? You know what I mean?
I mean, the denominator you've got to take into consideration, which I'm pretty sure loads of people have already done already, is it depends on who the next manager is and what kind of system they're going to want to implement. Because the problem is we're no clearer to understanding who our next manager is going to be.
Right.
So we have no idea what kind of system we're going to be looking at next year. We don't even know what players are going to be staying. We don't know what players are going to be going. You know, until that manager's been put in place, he can bring in his players. Does he want to keep X, Y, Z sort of players? Because we've still got another 6 players out of contract potentially. What kind of system we're going to play with? That's also going to play a massive part in terms of the decision that's going to be made going forward as well. Because it could be a manager that knows Jefferson Lerma or might have a system that incorporates Jefferson Lerma within that. And most big managers, most big managers that come into the fold will always make 1 or 2 statements within their squads. Whether they exile certain players, they get rid of certain players, or they play with a system that isolates a certain player out of the squad and the team. We don't know. It's more than an exciting summer. It's an interesting summer. That's how I'm kind of looking at going into next season. That's why some of these last couple of games, I'll be there cheering on the boys as I always will, but I'm not really kind of glued to it as much as I traditionally am, because I think part of my mind is kind of just what's going to happen in the summer. There's no World Cup, so there's going to be loads of time. There's going to be loads of potentials, ins and outs. We got to get a new manager in. That manager's got to see those new players when they come in from holiday and work on whatever system he's going to put in place. And if he needs Jefferson Lerma as a result of that system, then, you know, I'll back the manager and then we'll go ahead with it. But it's such a hard question to ask. But on a general scale of things, in comparison to what we got now, then I'm pretty... It's just an underwhelming signing for me. I think there are more exciting players out there that are available for us to get, but we don't know what the next manager wants, so it's very hard to say. I mean, why not go and get Alex Scott if you're going to go and get Jefferson Lerma? He's younger, he's more exciting. Didn't he not win Young Championship Player of the Year?
He might have. He's definitely in contention for it. Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing is the cost. I think I've been reading the cost of Alex Scott being around 20 million, if not more. But when I think about the addition of Lerma, I think like on my scale, it's kind of like there are bad signings, solid signings, promising ones, and exciting ones. And I think this would be on the solid side for me. Like, I think this would be a solid addition because it comes at a very affordable price. Like I said, you get a really good, really solid Premier League caliber player that's in his prime, so to speak. I think where it comes in that we view this is very much where you hit it on the dot. You hit it right on the head when you said that it needs to be a complementary acquisition. There needs to be others that happen with it. You know what I mean? Like another central midfielder, not the only one. You know what I mean? It's got to be that it can't be the best move that we make or the centerpiece move of the window that we make for me to be satisfied or for pretty much anybody to be satisfied with it, I think.
He kind of just screams to me very similar to Jeffrey Schlupp. Jeffrey Schlupp was already a Premier League proven midfielder. I believe he was a Premier League winner, if I'm not mistaken, at the time we got him.
He won the Premier League as a left back with Leicester.
Yeah, but then the thing with Jeffrey Schlupp is, especially the Football Manager heads watching would argue that he's actually capable of doing multiple roles in the team. I remember when he was training with Man United, they had him as a striker when Leicester were in the Championship. Mm-hmm. I know he can play left midfield. We know he can play centre midfield. So Lerma kind of just falls into that bracket of me. A player with Premier League experience, pretty strong and solid on the ball, not going to cost a lot of money. You can't, for me, you just can't go wrong on that scale of it. If we're looking for value for money out of it, it's fine. It's okay. It's all right. But there needs to be complementary pieces. Just basically, literally, like we were just discussing a moment ago. Yeah. There needs to be complementary pieces. It just cannot be Jefferson Lerma. That's the centre midfield scenario sorted, and then we move on to something else. We need to be active this summer, and we need to box clever this summer. And if that is a result of what we're kind of going to be aiming for, then all right, I can kind of take that as long as there are more complementary pieces to the puzzle. That's how I look at it.
And so Tim comes in and says, would you be more interested at a promising transfer or seeing a youngster break through as compared to bringing in a guy like Jefferson Lerma? So I'm guessing promising transfer being a la what we've done with Eze or an Elise move, or one of our young guys like you mentioned earlier, Phillips or Ozo or Fian Mooney even breaking into, you know, first team, seeing something big. Would you rather see one of those two scenarios as compared to the idea of adding someone like that?
Tim's done me. He's done me because I asked him this question on the match reaction, so he's flipped it on me. Good question. I would rather wait till preseason and see what we've got.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, now that we've certified the Premier League status and it doesn't look like we can pump up the table, even if there were substitute appearances, bring the kids. Even if they just bring them on for 10, 15 minutes. I believe with Ozo, we bring him on for, 10 minutes, and he looked very comfortable. Gave him up a couple of decent passes. But then at the same time, when there have been historically nothing to play for, and we bring on kids, there have been Pierrick, Jason Lecongilo, or whatever it was at the time. So they've cameo appearances and actually fully trusting the youth player to come into the first team. Damn you, Tim. Bringing in youth players, it's hard to gauge. I mean, how do these youth players handle a proper match situation when things are on the line? We'll never know until we put them in them scenarios.
Yep.
But do we have to kind of wait until there's an injury scare, or i.e. like what happened with Wan-Bissaka, the anomaly? Or do we kind of have to wait until we can't bring anyone through the door, i.e. Palace X amount of years ago in the Championship when we kind of escaped the administration? We had to bring in the Wilfs, the Sean Scannells, the Nathaniel Kleins and stuff like that. The thing is, we're at such a strange crossroads as a football club. It's very hard to tell. There's not really a right answer here because money needs to be spent to excite the fans and build up season ticket money and generate excitement around the place.
Thanks.
At the same time, we've invested so much money in the youth setup and the youth products that we've got coming through that there needs to be some kind of element of a breakthrough. We saw earlier on in the season under Vieira,
or even just efforts to try and break one.
It's hard to always differentiate. Are they good enough to always make that transition into the first team anyway?
Exactly.
Because the thing is, youth football and senior football, those are two very different elements and two different entities. We've got, obviously, in the next couple of weeks, we've got the under-19s championship kicking in as well. That's going to be quite big. There's a few players I'm actually quite excited personally to go and watch as well. I'll tell you one player who I'd love to see in the first team in the next couple of years is Jamin Raymond.
I like Jamin Raymond a lot.
But he might need to bulk up a little bit and get a little bit more experience. And I don't know if that'll come in the long concept as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard one. I think 1 or 2 would be nice. Even if we got 1 or 2, kind of maybe a couple more Ozo appearances, a couple more Mooney appearances. But the ones that I would have sort of turned around and said, certified Premier League games would have been Killian Phillips and Gordon. Yep. But obviously, they've gone out on loan. They've done their job for their prospective clubs where they've been.
Quiet with Gordon. I haven't heard about him recently.
Well, he had a weird suspension the other day.
He had a suspension ever since then. I haven't heard anything about it.
I don't know. Apparently, they're waiting for the FA the FA have stepped in and decided that they want to kind of get involved. But I don't know, man. It's all very political. But Phillips is one that really excites me. And if you remember back, I remember even having this conversation with Patrick. That is one that looks like he can play at our level. He looks like he's built for it. He looks like he's got the
I agree.
endurance for it as well. So we'll have to see, man. I mean, Roy's never been one to particularly bowls through a ton of youth players. That's just never really been his thing anyway. The only time he ever done it was by a sheer accident of Wan-Bissaka. That is probably one of the most money-turning accidents and experiments that's ever worked. Anybody that knows Palace enough knows that Wan-Bissaka was a right midfielder that really wasn't going to break into the first team. He has one half-decent training session when we're down on players. And then he was a
winger. I feel like he said he was a winger at one point.
He was a right winger. He used to play right wing for the youth squad. He was all right, but didn't really set the world alight. Has one half-decent training session, keeps Wilf in his pocket, and the next thing you know, £50 million later, we're nice. So these things come out of nowhere. Youth players break out at random times. They are sheer anomalies. There is never really a Premier League team that is certified brand new youth players. They break into the first team and then that's them forever. It just doesn't work with any football club. There are only rare anomalies in history that a youth player breaks into the first team, they have a breakthrough moment or they do, something spectacular, and then all of a sudden they're first team regulars and they're Premier League regulars. It's very, very rare that ever happens, especially nowadays with all the money involved. But it would be nice to see 1 or 2 and just see how they kind of command themselves and kind of hold themselves. But then once again, depends on who the next manager is going to be, because we don't know what the next manager's philosophy is. We might have somebody that is all about youth. We might have somebody that couldn't care less and just wants results.
Yep. And before we move on, I guess one of the things that we also have to consider is there will be room for opportunity within our midfield, more than likely, with the amount of midfield players that are going to be leaving in the summer. When you're talking about possibly losing Milivojevic, MacArthur, Jairo Riedewald. So there's going to be some space and opportunity for guys, whether it's the new guys or if it's some of the youngsters coming up. I mean, me personally, if we were to go for somebody like Jefferson Lerma, I would like us to also probably bring in another person to where maybe you have two solidified first team midfielders being added, and then hopefully see one of those young guys get a chance to break through on the Premier League level. But moving on to our second topic. So Palace sporting director Dougie Freedman was understood to be in South America last week, as talks have apparently intensified over a fee rising around to £25 million for Matheus Franca from Flamengo, and that is from the Mail Online. Now, I'm not sure how acquainted you may be with the kid Franca, but just give me your thoughts on that, AJ.
I know he was linked with Real Madrid a while ago, so I know a lot of top European clubs have been eyeing him up. It's a hard one, man. You don't get linked with a club like Real Madrid if you ain't got something about you. However, I am aware that he hasn't had a lot of starts, and he hasn't particularly set the world alight in terms of what he's done in Brazil. He's a very hyped up youth talent, but he's not like what's the term? Let me think of another player. He's not like a Neymar or he's not like a Ganzo where they've played regular first team football, got on the scoring.
He's not playing a regular first team.
He doesn't play regular first team football. So traditionally, when European top clubs bring a player from that part of the world, they've at least had a proper full season in men's football in there. So to pay £25 million for a player that potentially could be development level at this point is concerning. I think the only player that in Brazil that excites me, who looks like he's already on his way to Europe, is Endrick. But Franca, I mean,
he's 16, I believe.
For him to be linked with Brazil, for him to be linked with Real Madrid says to me that there's definitely some kind of quality and talent that people are aware of there. But then Real Madrid seems to have got off the scent of him. So I don't know if they're cautious to spend such a large amount of money, because £25 million for a Brazilian talent for a club like Crystal Palace in 2023 is a risk. It is. It's a risk. We're not really gonna, we're not the kind of club that can afford to buy £24 million ifs, buts, or maybes. It's just not really our style. It excites me because it's a very different entity and a different kind of player we're going for.
Mm-hmm.
But £25 million could probably buy you something a lot more established. And could buy you something a little bit more.
Very, very much so.
I mean, I would even debate. I don't know. I can't really think of a player off the top of my head, but I feel like 25 million. I mean, unless there is a decent kitty available in the summer for us. I mean, let's hypothetically say Wilf stays, or even if Wilf leaves, does Franca come into England and keep just to get into our starting 11? He can't even get into the starting 11.
Here's the thing for him, but we have to keep in focus here. He can't come in immediately and play in the Premier League. He's not going to be able to get his work permit.
Yeah, that's also a factor as well.
Because he's not an international. He's not playing internationally for Brazil. He's not even really getting a lot of first team time right now with Flamengo. So, barring some unforeseen things that we don't know about, more than likely he'll probably be headed out on loan somewhere, which is honestly, hopefully, the thing that we want to see with Molenbeek getting promoted to where we can then shoot him out to Belgium, have him playing in the Belgian first division on loan, where he can get his paperwork right. So,
but then that being said, it's still 25 million.
Yeah,
you see what I mean?
A lot of money. Still, because even if we pay it in installments, it's still a good amount of money.
Because if you look at our most expensive players that we've in history of Crystal Palace, most of them obviously are recent years.
Mm-hmm.
Those players have gone into the first team straight away.
Sacco,
yep. Benteke, Anderson and Gay, off the top of my head. Obviously, someone might be able to correct me in the comments, but these are first team ready to go straight away. Put it this way, Michael Olise cost £8 million. Are we saying that Franca's as good as, or is potentially going to be as good as Olise in 12 months' time?
That says a lot.
We're not the kind of club that can afford to take that risk. Clubs like Real Madrid and Barcelona, well, not even Barcelona, but clubs like Real Madrid can afford to take that risk. I'm just not convinced that kind of price, if we bought him for some stupid, silly money, like in the lower millions, then yeah, or if it was one of the ones where subject to, if he gets into the Brazil team, if he scores amount of goals, if he gets amount of games, if he gets a bigger club to a bigger move to get a percentage, that's different. That we're talking about a different risk. But £25 million for a player who is essentially a risk.
Yeah.
We don't even know if he'll even be able to adapt to British football, if he even adapt to life in South London, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Obviously, Brazil, there's a huge Brazilian setup in Stockwell. I'll take it myself. Don't worry about it. But, hey, listen. Amigo, we got people everywhere. But in all fairness, it's a lot of money for a lot of risk. And if we're being smart about our recruitment, like we kind of have been over the past couple of years, I don't know, man. I don't know.
The thing about it is, it's not, for me, it doesn't fit the theory that we're working on here. It doesn't fit the strategic
recruitment model.
Yeah, it doesn't fit the model at all. I mean, going and plucking a guy out of Brazil to come over here, yeah, that could fit it, but the price piece doesn't fit. You know what I'm saying? Like you're like you said, you want to have a more Elise-esque situation where you go buy for low, where they can come in, develop, and you sell them for higher. But starting out at 25, club our size, for instance, if he becomes $100 million talent, yeah, you're making a huge profit, but that's a nice outlay for us on the front end for a young guy who's, like you said, we don't know if he's going to adjust to British football. He's actually pretty unproven at the first team level to this point, to be quite honest with you. We're going to have to wait on him because he's probably not going to be able to get his work permit on to begin with. So I think there's just a lot of factors in it that just doesn't fit for me personally.
Nah, I mean, I could be wrong, right? And then he might turn out to be the next Neymar or Vinicius Jr. or whatever, and I'll be the first person to hold my hands and cry and beg for forgiveness from the fan base or my narrative. But
right,
at least what you got to take into consideration was Vinicius Jr., Neymar, hell, even some of these Brazilian players that didn't work out in terms of coming into Europe, i.e. more like the types of the Ganzos and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They were already first-team players turning on.
First-team players. Those
they were guys playing week in, week out. They already had a couple little silly caps for Brazil and stuff like that. They were the next big things. This kid, what's different from him to some kid that plays in goals down the road at five-a-side? I don't know.
Right.
He ain't going to cost me £25 million to get him to sign to Crystal Palace.
Exactly.
So, I don't know, man. We can spend that money wisely in other areas of the team, for me, personally.
Okay. So we can go to the chat a little bit. What's up, Gunner? How you doing, man?
From Iceland.
Appreciate you tuning in, man. Appreciate it. Geica's being real, real hospitable. Appreciate that, man.
Worldwide, baby, worldwide.
Carlos Alcaraz from Southampton would be nice.
He plays in Eze's position. That's not going to happen. It's a good idea. It's a good shout. But he plays in Eze's position. He plays number 10.
I mean, it's one of those things. It's like, you probably want to have a lot of attacking talent, but it's like you don't want. I want to have guys that we can rotate, but I don't want to have guys that are going to impede what Eze can do. I mean, because honestly, we had that already when we had Conor Gallagher and him coming back from his injuries and whatnot. So I think right now with the way Eze's playing, I think we just need to let him go, man. To be quite honest with you, so
he's gonna be England international by the summer. Don't worry about it.
So now we're 100% safe. Well done, Palace. Absolutely, man. Be celebrating 11 years in the Premier League, man. And with that, I'm going to flip it over because we were talking about some of the results today. So Brighton pulled a stinker.
Unlucky, lads. Unlucky.
Pulled a stinker against Everton today. What was it? 4-1. Ended up 4-1, I believe.
No, it was like it ended 5-1 because McNeil scored in the last.
Oh yeah, because McNeil had a hat trick.
And then he ran into the away crowd and gave it. It's a real one.
So 5-1, Brighton loses to Everton, and that was one of those ones where it was a little bit. It's like I want to see Everton go down, but at the same time, you never want to see Brighton win. So
I kind of saw the first goal going like within 32 seconds, and I was like, nah. It's a bad day at the office. They got humbled. Like you can just tell. Sometimes you just look at a game and you're like, oh boy, here we go.
And then another colossal downfall of a match. Millwall ended up losing in their match. Who was it against?
Blackburn
Rovers. Yeah, because
Rovers.
Ben Brereton got the game winning
Brereton
goal.
Diaz, man. Yeah. Chilean international.
Yeah, so. For anybody who's not aware, Millwall, all they need to do was win that match, and they would have gotten into the championship playoffs. But Millwall would have. But with that loss, another year in the championship. Premier League ain't for everybody. Premier League's not for everybody. So. But
listen, man. You keep that championship football, lads. No one likes us. We don't care. That's fine. You can't care in the championship. You're just not.
Just keep that over there.
Leave it, yeah. Leave it to the proper South London club. You just leave it to us, boys.
Yeah. So it looks like let's see. Southampton bought Alcaraz in January for $12 million. So that's a dollar amount. That's a dollar amount I'm more comfortable with if we're trying to find a guy, when you're searching for those gems and things. Now that's more of the dollar amount for us that I would be.
This might sound crazy, but I'd rather go and spend half that money on Ward-Prowse. Set piece specialist.
Set piece specialist. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so
Controversial.
yeah, the market has gone mad. I mean, just because of how much money and how just frivolously certain teams are willing to spend, it makes it that much harder for a lot of other teams. And yeah,
Although the caveat to what Tim was saying there, actually, well, he's right about City United. Nobody can ever beat around the loopholes. I think those are three separate entities. So Man United is built over a period of time. You know, they were the richest club. They built on it, and they built on it. Built on it. They never had no sugar daddy come in the door and then just start doing a madness.
Which
Man
leads
City
us to
did it through third party. They essentially did this through third party ownership, which is very seedy and stuff. Because I don't understand how airport companies and aviation companies that report record losses can afford to be giving you £300 million a year. But that's neither here or there.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Chelsea element, they've obviously messed up and toyed with a structure so bad that FIFA have had to change their transferring rules. So
literally.
Three corruption elements and three very dodgy elements of doing things. But then the thing is, Chelsea have to sell. They'll have to sell.
Facts.
And if Noni Mundiaki fancies popping down to South London for a bit of time, then I would not say no. Here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I think any of us would love to have Noni for sure. So,
dream signing, man. It's my dream signing.
Looking at Ash here, Ash asks Ilias Chair, anyone?
Oh, what from QPR? Ooh, he's good,
I like him. He's just really small, bro.
He might get beaten up a little bit.
So like he's small. Think about this. Ilias Chair is smaller than Max Meyer.
I heard he's available.
Oh, of course. And Max Meyer was tiny.
Bring him back. Bring him home.
Tiny. Ilias Chair is even smaller. But
I imagine Max Meyer under a Patrick Vieira, mate. But then, that's a fair point made by Tim. Chair. I mean, I haven't really heard much hype about him recently, but I do know there's talent there. But then, where do we play him? Because I do believe he's also another attacking midfielder.
Yeah, centralized. Because he can't he can't be a true midfield. He's too small.
I don't know, man. I mean, the only anomaly to that rule, that exception to the rule, is probably Messi. Apart from that, it's very rare that you could probably get.
I mean, we talk about one dude out of the history of 5'5" footballers. Messi's like the one that we can.
Yeah, he's the only anomaly, and even him, he's a freak of nature. So I don't know, lads. I don't know. Oh, Martinez, I guess, and Martinez for United, he's alright, but he only has to play centre midfield, centre defence. That's different.
I mean, even Martinez is still like 3 or 4 inches taller than Ilias Chair is. Like that says a lot. Like,
yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe put him on the bench, and if we get like 5-10 million, although that'd be a bit disrespectful to QPR, but they ain't ready to got any more exciting new players. Like, they got another release in there, man. They just went down League One. They must have somebody in there, man. That can,
I think Ilias Chair would do good in like the top leagues or maybe a few other countries where they're
get protected by referees more.
Yeah, it's a little less physical. If I had my choice, Ash, another one could do with raiding Coventry if they fail in the playoffs. Hamer and Gyökeres, especially. I'm a Gyökeres fan. I like him.
Are you?
I mean, watching him, he's good with the ball at his feet. He can finish. He can hold up. He's actually a really good He's actually a really good passer. Like they talk about the fact that he's got almost 20 goals, but he's got 10 assists this season too.
Let's see what they do in the chat. Let's see what they do in the playoffs, because
yeah, I agree.
There's a couple of players I'm eyeing up in the playoffs, like Dalio. Dalio's a player I like. For Sunderland, on loan from United.
Oh,
so if we turn around to United and say, you know what, let's take him on loan for a season, and install a little buy-in clause in there as well.
He's another smaller cat, but he got some pace though.
He is very nippy. You just can't catch him. Like, he's just a little mouse. Like he just pops up everywhere. He's very, very talented. I think there's a lot of talent there. He's one I like.
Boulaye Dia. This is it Ivory Coast? Is this the same guy?
Yeah. I've not watched a lot of him.
I haven't watched him very much.
He's more like a Wikipedia find for me, to be fair. I mean, I'd have to watch him more, to be fair. I'm not going to commit to a player that I don't know.
Yeah, and I've heard good things about Hammer. I haven't watched them. I haven't like
How
focused.
old is Hammer? That's what I'd like to know, because Hammer looks
I
good
would like
on
to
paper.
know. Yeah, I've heard good things
You're gonna have
about
to just
him.
jump on Twitter and just send me some info, because these are too much. There's too much going on in a short space of time.
Yep. So it looks like number one keeper next season. What do we say? Who do you have as your number
I'm a
one
guy
guy?
fan, you know. All right, I'm through top confession, right? I met Guaita at work recently, right? So I do have a little bit of indirect bias there, but I think Guaita's got at least one more season as number one, or at least another 6 months as number one. He doesn't make mistakes. He's still very solid in front of goal. He still is, you know, barring the injuries, he's not really. I mean, his distribution's not great in terms of obviously playing from goal, but that's another one. It just depends on the manager again. Because if you've got one of these modern managers that want to play from goal,
yep,
then that's gonna. Or they might turn around and say, "Well, I want to bring in my own goalkeeper."
Very true.
And then they bring in some Dutch brother that I've never even heard of, and the next thing you know, he's not making like Haaland and that, like, you know. So
that's the nature of it. You bring in somebody new, they might have
gun to the head right now. I would actually stick with Guaita. I think Johnson has proven he is definitely on the way and he is competent. But I think if I look at what I see, I'm going to give this one the eye test. Guaita is still safe hands for me.
So even with us being in a situation with John Stones having the success he's having, he finishes the season strong. Is there, like, do you think it's a competition in the offseason in the summertime?
I think so. Like I mentioned in the match reaction, make sure you guys go check that out. I said I was happy enough with Johnson, but one comment I did mention, and I don't know if anyone picked up, is clean sheets. Who's got the most clean sheets per game ratio?
Yep.
Like, the thing is, right, neither of the two of them make me panic about being in the being in the net. But the thing is, Johnson has been solid, and I'll be honest, he pretty much saved us against Leeds, and there have been a few other games that I've seen him in, but there have also been a few games that that has been mentioned by a lot of other fans as well, also in the match reaction, make sure you check that out, is that he doesn't command the box yet. Now, I don't know if that is a combination of him being out for such a long period of time and not being at elite level football for such a long period of time, or is that just something he might have to kind of learn from Vicente as well? Because when they interviewed Johnson about the relationships with the goalkeepers in the club, there was a conversation around, well, they support each other. So is it a case of Johnson's learning and picking up from what he's getting from Guaita for this period of time? Because we know Guaita's not getting any younger, and I'm pretty sure he's also going to be aware of that as well.
Yeah.
It's a hard one. I think I'd still go with Guaita for I'd give him at least the first few months of the new season. Unless he dropped Howlers in the pre-season.
Yeah, because he's got the 1 year extension, so we got him for 1 more year. So
and then I go form per game. As soon as he stinks and drops a howler, Johnson's back in there straight away, and vice versa.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean the thing about it is, I feel like it's a good problem to have.
Tim brings up sorry T, but Tim brings on a very important point. Whitworth didn't have the worst element in goal, and Goodman has looked very, very good as well.
Right.
And there is also that weird elephant in the room, Jack Butland. Where does he stand in this? Does he have a say in it? Does he want to stay in it?
He's free. He's free in the summer, so he's gone probably.
But then, do we trigger an extension? Do we give him an extension? Do we just let him
go? We also have Remy Matheus coming back too.
Yeah, Remy Matheus not getting in that team. Sorry,
he's still under contract, is what I mean, though. Maybe keep him as a third and loan out the 2 young guys.
No. Loan one of them. Loan Whitworth or Goodman, but don't loan out both. And I'd keep the other one as the third choice.
Okay.
Because I think Whitworth showed me enough to say he's on his way, not to be a good number one right now, but at least be in the conversation for a progressive goalkeeper. And Goodman, to be fair, looks like an absolute unit. So if he's just as flexible and he can be just as responsive in terms of when he does get his first team opportunity, we might have a goalkeeper on our hands.
Yep. Looking at Mike's thing, we're gonna wrap up here, but just look at a couple more things. Haven't heard any more rumors. Last
Slot
thing I
was the
heard
last
was
name I heard.
Slot was the last
Slot
thing
was
when
the
they talking
last
about
name I
they
heard.
were trying to negotiate with him. So that was the last thing I heard about there. And then Ash threw out some names that are all free in the summer. I can tell you, Ash, Thuram's going to be too
Marcus
expensive.
Thuram, no.
Yeah, he's going to be too expensive for us.
I was already agreed to Roma.
Yep. Burton Diaz is going to Villarreal.
Grimaldo. He's not coming to Crystal Palace. Sorry, lads. Like
I haven't heard any
Champions League
rumors
quality.
about Tielemans going anywhere.
Recently, he's always in big clubs. He could easily get into
he's been the one I do like is John Bamba. The one I do like is John Bamba, especially if we lose Wilf.
The only thing I worry about Burton Diaz is I've never seen him at Premier League level, and I'm just a bit concerned that we'd fall down the trap of just having another average
pre-contract. He's gone. He's like
leaving. Yeah, hasn't he signed with that Sevilla or somewhere like that?
No, Villarreal.
Yeah, that sounds right. He's signed with somebody.
He's pre-contract.
Grimaldo's not coming to this level, and he's definitely not coming to compete with. If we sign Grimaldo, Mitchell's not playing for us again. I don't think people realize how good Grimaldo is. He's been
rumored with
he's Man United
for a while.
Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City level. If anything, Man City will get him.
Yeah, so out of all these guys, the one I think that I would like to see, I feel be feasible somehow is Jonathan Bamba, but that's only in the event that we lose Wilf. I mean, Bamba being free, we can afford his wages. He's young, got some really good experience. I think he could come in and help us for sure. But I think that only comes to fruition if Wilf isn't there, because I don't know if he's going to want to come and play behind Wilf. So. But that'll about wrap it up, man.
I mean, all due respect, Ash, this is FIFA career mode, bro.
Yeah,
exactly. Career mode right there. Those transfers.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, and real quick, Ricardo.
It's ambitious, and it would be lovely. And I'll tell you what, if we sign at least 3 of those, then I'll hold my hands up.
Yeah, my favorite.
Pepe wouldn't leave Porto to come to Crystal Palace.
Yeah,
no way.
I don't think Pepe would be the best move right now, to be honest with you. Consistency is one of those things. I just don't know if he's there yet. I think he makes that step up in Eredivisie, goes to a better Eredivisie club, and maybe you look at him a little bit down the road once he becomes a little bit more proven. My favorite free guy that might be out there is Masengo, who's actually technically with Bristol City, but he's playing for Auxerre right now in League One. He's playing really well. He'll be free, and he's only like 21, 22. So getting a young guy on the free is very rare. So, but we're gonna wrap it up, man. Appreciate everybody tuning in today and rocking with us, being responsive. We appreciate you all, man. We'll be back for more content throughout the week. We've got the match preview coming up here soon, and some more Palace news might be coming as things pop up. But I want to say thank you to you all. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe down in the comments, man. And shout out to AJ. Appreciate you all. And as usual, up the Palace.
Up the Palace, baby.